The unrest in the Middle East hit a boiling point this weekend as NATO forces launched U.S. Predator drones in Libya, while the situation in Syria turned dire and deadly. The death toll from the Syrian uprising has topped 300, with more than a dozen mourners shot and murdered at a funeral protest on Friday. It's a situation that's quickly becoming a humanitarian crisis, much like that in Libya. So does this mean the U.S. is headed into Syria as well? Joining us now is Michael Scheuer, former bin Laden hunter for the CIA and author of the book Osama bin Laden. Michael, it's a pleasure. Welcome back to Freedom Watch. I suppose if the president is to be taken at his word that we will go wherever there are humanitarian needs for us, we should be expected to go and may even already be in Syria, where people are being murdered in the streets, not for shooting back at the government, not for shooting at the government, but for attending funerals and for speaking out against the government.
Well, I guess Obama would have to check with his boss at the UN first, Judge, but if it is all consistent, yes, I guess then he would want to go to Syria and get involved with another situation in which there are no U.S. interests at risk.
What is your reaction to the revelation over the weekend that the government, I don't know if it's your former colleagues in the intelligence community or if it's the Department of Defense, has been using unmanned drones to attack sites in Libya, including a place where Colonel Gaddafi sometimes lives and sometimes sleeps?
It's a sign of desperation, Judge, just as the drones are a sign of desperation in South Asia, in Pakistan and Afghanistan. The only way to fight these people is to fight them with bayonets and soldiers on the ground. And we won't commit that, and so we're trying to pawn off on the American people that somehow we can win a war with drones. Drones give you a body count. They don't give you any progress in the war that you're waging. And so this is just probably the last bus stop on the way to ground forces.
Now, you correct me if I'm wrong, Michael. A soldier on the ground probably has a better idea of who he's shooting at than a drone in the sky does. The drones hit, they kill rebels, loyalists, and innocents.
I think that's probably right, Judge. Again, though, I think you come back to the point of why are we there, or why do we care? And to be killing people in the name of the United States for reasons that have no impact on United States interests is just insane stuff.
But the last time you were here when we were discussing this, Michael, you said that the people that the United States government is purporting to help in Libya, if they were transplanted to Afghanistan, we would call them the Taliban. Now, over the weekend, Senator John McCain, Senator Lindsey Graham, Senator Joe Lieberman, that pro-war triumvirate across party lines in the United States Senate, said these rebels are good guys and we should be helping them out. Aren't they arguably providing encouragement and assistance to terrorist organization, which is a federal crime?
Not arguably, Judge. Absolutely. Part of the WikiLeaks over the weekend shows that a couple people who are fighting for our supposed freedom fighters came out of Guantanamo and are now fighting for the overthrow of Gaddafi and for the replacement of Gaddafi by an Islamic State. You know, Senator Graham, Senator Lieberman, Senator McCain, they ought to grab AK-47s and go out there and fight, but they ought to leave their countrymen alone here in America.
When we learned this morning that one of Colonel Gaddafi said, look, he's a monster. You know that. I know that. Everybody watching us now knows that. But when we learned this morning that one of his residences, of which I guess he has many, was actually targeted, could one argue from that this was an assassination attempt, an effort to use military hardware in an undeclared war to kill a foreign head of state?
I think that's exactly what it was, Judge. It's another sign of their desperation. They're hoping that if they bump off Gaddafi, that everybody gives up and goes home. And unfortunately for the geniuses in the White House, there are at least 4 sons who can take over. So it's another sign of desperation, sir.
At the same time that we were aiming the drones at where they think Gaddafi was sleeping over the weekend, British Prime Minister David Cameron said he was sending in, making quotation marks with my fingers, advisors into Libya. The quotation marks are because you and I remember the use of that phrase by John F. Kennedy and Lyndon Johnson in Vietnam, and we all know what the advisors turned into, 500,000 American troops. Will that happen again in Libya? Is there any way to stop this other than by just leaving?
Only if the Congress stands up and says enough is enough, no more money for this mad adventure, which I gather is approaching $1 billion now in the next couple of days. The Congress ultimately is the problem here, Judge, as you've said repeatedly, and as Mr. Paul has said. They are the responsible party for declaring war. If they haven't declared war, what Obama is doing is illegal.
Michael Scheuer, pleasure. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, sir.